For years, women have been told that if weight loss gets harder with age, the answer is simple: more discipline, more restriction, more effort. But what if that advice was never built for how the female body actually changes in midlife? Peptides are a shortcut, GLP-1s are a shortcut, and taking that shortcut is one of the smartest decisions a woman can make for her body. Because here's what the wellness industry doesn't want you to know: the body struggling under midlife hormonal shifts was never broken, it was never undisciplined, it was never failing, it was asking for support. And these tools, GLP-1s, semaglutide, tirzepatide, peptide stacks, they're the answer to that ask. This is a conversation beyond the headlines, beyond Ozempic for weight loss, beyond the shame that keeps so many women from getting the help their bodies actually need. This is about what's really happening inside the body when these tools are introduced, and why choosing this shortcut isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Let's start with the mechanism. GLP-1, glucagon like peptide 1. Your body actually produces this hormone naturally every time you eat. The gut releases it, it signals the pancreas to release insulin at exactly the right moment, it slows gastric emptying so nutrients absorb properly, and it communicates a clear message to the brain: fullness, satisfaction, stop. It's really just a built-in shortcut in how the body is designed to work. But as women age, something starts to shift. As estrogen declines during perimenopause and menopause, that built-in shortcut stops working the way it used to. Insulin sensitivity drops, the body's metabolic signals become less precise, and the amount of food that once made you feel full just doesn't register the same way anymore. If you've ever thought, why does my body suddenly feel like it's working against me? This is why. This isn't failure, it's simply biology shifting. The women who've spent decades doing everything right, eating clean, moving consistently, maintaining discipline, often find themselves confused when their body no longer responds to the same strategies. The thought pattern becomes, something must be wrong with me. But the real truth is actually much simpler. The hormones that made those strategies work before have changed. GLP-1 medications are really just helping restore something the body used to do naturally. They're not hacking the system, and they're not forcing your body into anything unnatural. They're simply helping bring back a regulatory mechanism your body already had. And when that comes back online, the ripple effects go far beyond appetite. Most conversations about GLP-1s start and end with appetite, but that's only part of the story. Behind the scenes, these medications are also helping reduce inflammation throughout the body. And that's not just a side effect, it's part of how they work. Think about the body of a woman in midlife who has spent years doing everything she was told should work: eating carefully, exercising consistently, and yet the weight still hangs on or returns. Over time, that body can end up carrying a lot of inflammation, cells under stress, an immune system that's constantly switched on, a body that feels like it's always in a low-level state of alarm. And this inflammation isn't just about weight. It affects the whole system. It impacts brain clarity, mood, joint health, skin quality, recovery, sleep. And here's the part most people miss: discipline alone can't fix an inflammatory state. The problem isn't that someone isn't trying hard enough. The real issue is the internal environment their body is operating in. When GLP-1 medications are introduced, the body's metabolic signals start working more clearly again. Inflammation begins to come down. The immune system finally gets to step out of that constant state of high alert. Cells start communicating the way they're supposed to instead of constantly sending stress signals. And women notice it. The brain fog starts to lift. Joint pain improves. Energy comes back in ways they haven't felt for years. And it's not just because they're eating less, it's because the inflammatory load on the body has come down, and the body can finally start putting energy toward clarity, vitality, and repair instead of constantly fighting internal stress. That's the anti-inflammatory shortcut, and it changes everything. Now, think about what's happening in the brain. GLP-1 receptors aren't just in the gut or the pancreas. They're also found throughout the brain in areas that influence things like reward, motivation, mood, and impulse control. So when women talk about food noise, that constant mental chatter about food, the pull toward eating even when they aren't truly hungry, the feeling like their brain just won't quiet down, that isn't a character flaw. That's biology. When the body is in a state of metabolic imbalance, the brain basically starts running a scarcity program. It's sending signals like seek more, need more, food is urgent, and those signals happen deeper than willpower. No amount of discipline can override a program that's running at that level. But when GLP-1 medications enter the system, that program finally starts to quiet, not through force, but by helping rebalance those brain signals. The reward pathways settle, the urgency around food fades, and then there's the nervous system side of this, which almost nobody talks about, but it's a really powerful piece of the puzzle. When your body is dealing with chronic inflammation and metabolic stress, your nervous system can get stuck in fight or flight mode. For many women, that shows up as constant anxiety, feeling on edge, that background tension that never quite shuts off, or waking up at 3 a.m. with a mind that is already racing. GLP-1s can help shift your body out of that constant fight or flight state and back into the calmer mode it was designed to live in. When that happens, the benefits can show up pretty quickly. Sleep gets deeper, anxiety eases, emotional balance improves. Stress starts to feel manageable again. The body can finally relax because it's no longer fighting itself. That's the nervous system shortcut, and it's rarely discussed because it can't be measured on a scale. Now let's expand this conversation beyond weight and mood and talk about where this really matters long term: cellular health and aging. GLP-1 medications and peptides are getting a lot of attention in longevity research right now because of what they're doing at the cellular level. When metabolic signals in the body are working properly, cells simply function better. Mitochondria, which are basically the energy producers inside every cell, become more efficient, and the body's ability to repair and regenerate improves. Research is also starting to show that GLP-1 medications may have protective effects on things like cardiovascular health and cognitive function, and they may even influence how quickly the body ages at the cellular level. So this conversation isn't just about how the body looks, it's about how the body ages. Other peptides like BPC 157, TB 500, NAD+, and glutathione work on similar principles. They're not forcing the body into something unnatural. They're simply giving cells the signals and building blocks they need to repair, recover, and function better. Now think about what this means for a woman in her 40s or 50s. She's spent decades being told that aging means working harder, more discipline, more restriction. But what if the real shortcut to longevity isn't doing more? It's supporting the body more intelligently. What if choosing peptides, choosing metabolic support, choosing help instead of constant struggle is actually one of the smartest health decisions she could make? That's the longevity shortcut. And it's rooted in cellular science, not ideology. There's a deeper conversation happening here, one about what shortcuts actually mean. Modern wellness culture has pushed this idea that struggle equals virtue, that if something is hard, it's earned. If it's easy, it's cheating. And if you need help, it means you failed. That mindset has done a lot of damage to women's health. Because the biological reality is much simpler. A woman's body doesn't fail in midlife. Her hormones shift, her metabolism changes, the systems that once regulated everything so easily just become less efficient. That's biology, not a personal shortcoming. And when biology shifts, the answer isn't always more discipline. Sometimes the answer is better support that matches the new reality. Choosing a GLP-1 is a shortcut. Choosing peptides is a shortcut. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, choosing the shortcut that works with your biology instead of fighting it may be one of the smartest health decisions a woman can make. Smart women have always taken shortcuts. They outsource what doesn't need their time. They invest in tools that amplify their effort. They work with their nature instead of constantly pushing against it. This shortcut just happens to come in a vial. The conversation around GLP-1 medications and peptides is only going to keep evolving. And as more women experience what it actually feels like to support their bodies instead of constantly fighting them, the stigma will keep fading. So if you're someone standing at that point right now, researching, wondering, feeling curious, but also a little unsure, hear this: choosing this path isn't cheating. It isn't laziness. And it isn't taking the easy way out. It's choosing alignment instead of constant force. It's choosing support instead of struggle. It's choosing wisdom over outdated ideas about how health is supposed to work. And that choice can change everything.